Oh, baby. Yeah. Calm down, baby.
I'ma be your motivation. Motivation.
Girl, let's turn that thing into a rainforest. Rain on my head,
baby.
Call that rain.
Oh, get it, girl.
Yeah, this is deep. Oh, but I go deeper. Make you lose yourself. And find us keepers. It go green. Go easy, go. That sweet and love.
Oh, girl.
Hold up, wait. New position. Put her on my plate. Then I do the dishes. She my motivation. I'm her transportation. While I drive her crazy. Then I keep going like I'm racing. When I'm done, she holding that good conversation. What's it, baby?
Ain't off yet. You gotta do at least a whole song, don't you?
Baby, I'ma be your motivation. Whatever. When you call my name.
Look at
So go lover. Don't
I can't do it now, y'all. I know y'all doing that.
Oh, shit.